I'm going to say one thing. Fuck Trump.
What happened between Donald Trump and Robert De Niro just changed everything. Because one comment about Epstein turned into a public confrontation that nobody saw coming. And the actor who spent years attacking Trump suddenly found himself in the middle of his own controversy. Robert De Niro has been one of Trump's most vocal critics for years. He's called him names, attacked his character, and made it clear where he stands. But then something unexpected happened. During a recent public appearance, De Niro was asked about Jeffrey Epstein. And instead of answering directly, he pivoted to Trump. He claimed Trump was deeply connected to Epstein's world, that Trump knew more than he was saying, that the truth was being hidden. But here's where it gets interesting, because Trump didn't stay silent. Within hours, Trump responded, and he didn't hold back. Trump pointed out something that most people had forgotten. Robert De Niro himself appeared in Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book. His name was listed. His contact information was there. And while De Niro had spent years accusing Trump, he never explained his own connection to the billionaire financier. Trump's team released a statement that was direct and brutal. They said if De Niro wants to talk about Epstein connections, maybe he should start with his own. The documents don't lie. The flight logs exist. And De Niro's name appears in records that he's never publicly addressed. This wasn't just a celebrity feud anymore. This was about credibility. Because De Niro had positioned himself as a moral authority. He'd attacked Trump on late-night shows, in interviews, at award ceremonies. But now people were asking a simple question. Why was Robert De Niro's name in Epstein's book? And why had he never explained it? The media tried to downplay it. They focused on Trump's response rather than De Niro's connection. But social media exploded. People started digging through old records. They found photos of De Niro at events where Epstein was present. They found connections between De Niro's business associates and Epstein's network. And suddenly the narrative shifted. Trump had turned the tables completely. He wasn't defending himself anymore. He was asking De Niro to explain. And De Niro went silent. No follow-up statements, no explanations, no press conferences, just silence. Here's why this matters, because this isn't about defending Trump or attacking De Niro. This is about a pattern that keeps repeating. People in Hollywood and politics attack Trump over Epstein. They make accusations. They demand investigations. But then their own connections surface, and they disappear from the conversation. De Niro spent years building a public persona as Trump's moral opponent. He painted himself as the voice of reason, the one willing to speak truth to power. But when his own name appeared in Epstein's records, that persona cracked. Because you can't demand transparency from others while hiding your own connections. You can't call for investigations while refusing to explain your own presence in those documents. And you can't position yourself as morally superior when your name is literally written in the same book you're accusing others of being in. Trump's response was calculated. He didn't need to prove he was innocent. He just needed to show that his accusers had their own questions to answer. And it worked. The entire conversation shifted from Trump's alleged connections to De Niro's documented presence in Epstein's circle. But there's something deeper happening here. This isn't just about one actor or one former president. This is about a system where certain people get to make accusations without ever facing scrutiny themselves. Where being in the right political tribe means your connections don't get investigated. Where your name in Epstein's book gets memory hold while others get destroyed for far less. Robert De Niro was asked one simple question after Trump's response. Will you explain why your name was in Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book? He refused to answer. His publicist released a vague statement about privacy and old contact lists. But that's not an explanation. That's a deflection, because if your name appears in the personal records of one of history's most notorious criminals, people deserve more than a vague statement. They deserve the same transparency you demanded from others. And De Niro couldn't provide it. The fallout was immediate. De Niro's credibility as a Trump critic took a massive hit. His future attacks would always be met with the same question. What about your connection to Epstein? It became his permanent asterisk. Every time he spoke about Trump, people remembered. His name was in that book too. Trump had effectively neutralized one of his most prominent critics, not by defending himself, but by simply pointing to the documented facts. And those facts were undeniable. Robert De Niro's name was in Jeffrey Epstein's black book. He had never explained why, and when confronted, he chose silence over transparency. This is how the game is played at the highest levels. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about who controls the narrative. And in this confrontation, Trump flipped the script completely. He took an accusation and turned it into a boomerang. The accuser became the accused. And the man who demanded answers suddenly had no answers to give. What makes this even more significant is the timing. This happened while multiple Epstein-related investigations were still ongoing, while names were being unsealed, while the public was demanding to know who knew what and when. And in that environment, De Niro's silence spoke volumes. Because if you have nothing to hide, you explain. You provide context. You show why your name being in that book means nothing. But De Niro didn't do any of that. He attacked Trump for years over Epstein connections. But when his own connection surfaced, he went quiet. And that silence told people everything they needed to know. This wasn't about justice or truth. This was about using Epstein as a political weapon. And when that weapon turned around, the person holding it dropped it immediately. Trump understood this. He didn't need to prove De Niro was guilty of anything. He just needed to show the hypocrisy, the double standard, the selective outrage. And once people saw it, they couldn't unsee it. The entire Epstein controversy had become a battlefield where everyone had something to hide, where accusations flew in every direction, where documented connections existed for people on all sides. But only certain names got investigated. Only certain people got destroyed. And only certain connections were allowed to matter. Robert De Niro learned this the hard way. He thought he could keep attacking Trump without anyone looking into his own background. He thought his celebrity status would protect him. He thought the media would cover for him like they always had. But Trump made sure that didn't happen. He put De Niro's name back in the spotlight. And once it was there, all the protection in the world couldn't make people forget what they'd seen. A name in a book, a connection never explained, and a silence that said more than any statement ever could. This is the new reality. In the age of social media and citizen journalism, nothing stays buried forever. Records get found, screenshots get saved, and people who thought they were untouchable discover they're not. Robert De Niro became the latest example, a man who positioned himself as a moral authority, who attacked Trump relentlessly, who demanded investigations and transparency, but who couldn't explain his own name in Jeffrey Epstein's black book. And that's where this story ends, not with answers, not with closure, but with a question that Robert De Niro still hasn't answered. Why was your name in that book? And until he provides a real explanation, that question will follow him everywhere. Trump made sure of that.